Hey everyone, this is Arsenal Fan Circle. This is the Thursday night show you cannot live without. I got Tony Turner. I got Rohan with me as well. Rohan, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, Ray. What's up, guys?
Always, always. And thanks, Tony, for joining. And I got a new fan to this channel, Alonso Spencer. Alonso, welcome to Arsenal Fan Circle.
If I have any,
All right, first thing we need to do is anyone new on this show, we kind of asked them, how'd you get into Arsenal? When? What time was it? Not not on the day. What year was it? And just a little background about yourself.
so I'm from Houston, Texas, and so I became an Arsenal fan whenever it was 2008 Euros, and it was Young Fabregas and Van Persie, and later on I went to a bookstore and looked up Arsenal, and it was a magazine about the preview for the upcoming season, and it was Arsenal, the first team on the magazine, and I read it, and there was Van Persie and Fabregas on the team roster. So that's how I became an Arsenal fan. And 2008, 2009 season was my first season I supported Arsenal.
Yeah. So you're right in the middle of some lean years. We almost won that league, right, Rohan? 2008.
It was here before, but
Yeah.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
many almost.
So many almost for many years until we got to 2014,
Yeah.
and we won that FA Cup for the first time.
yeah.
How, welcome, Tanner.
Going
Hey,
on, fellas?
good. Alonso, how did it feel to win the FA Cup for the first time as a supporter?
So it was long, obviously. I was at a friend's house, and it was very intense game. Of course, when you were down 2-0 at before halftime, you get kind of worried. But when Kazola
Yeah,
hit that free kick, it was just we're in it. We're back in it. And then Kashani scored. Like, all right, we have a game going. And then at the 125th minute, I think Ramsey scored. So it was like 109th minute, Ramsey scored. So it was pretty awesome. It was exciting.
cool. All right, welcome. Good to have you aboard
Thanks.
tonight, and we're going to get into some topics here. So, Rohan, let's start off with you. First topic up for discussion is Saka signs for 4 years, and this is great news.
That's massive, isn't it? Like, he is one of the bright sparks. Him and Martinelli were the bright sparks of this season. This season isn't really going anywhere for us. And
Yeah.
in between that, it was, Saka who's turned up and he's like absolutely floored everyone. One of the most promising youngsters that we've seen in a while. He has the end product as well. He played out of position, showed commitment, showed character. So couldn't ask for more. And I was sort of worried because there were a lot of clubs that were chasing after him, and whether he would sign or not, it wasn't sure. But he's put pen to paper. Credit to Mikel Arteta for, he must have sold the project as well. He's told him that he's vital, and the young kid has been professional, nothing but professional, and absolutely love the guy. Massive for us.
Yeah, yeah. Tanner, welcome to the podcast. I want to shout out Mr. Bungle in the chats and everyone else watching. It's a great thing. Bukayo Saka signs for 4 years, like Brohan said. A great step. It kind of reaffirms where we're going under Mikel Arteta, that a young player like this wants to buy into the project.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo what Rohan said. It's massive for the club to get Bukayo Saka to ink 4-year deal and commit his future to really Mikel Arteta and like Rohan said, the project. And I think it speaks volumes about the kind of, well, at this point I'm going to say the kind of man that Bukayo Saka is, that, you know, look, he could hold out, say, nope, you know what, I want to see if, you know, a transfer offer comes in, or I want to go somewhere else, but says, no, you know what, I'm going to be a part of the renaissance of Arsenal Football Club. And I think that's, you know, outside of 3 points, you know, yesterday, that's the best news that I really, honestly, I think that's the best news that we could have gotten in this Project Restart. So
Exactly, Tanner, and that's something I tweeted. You know, the icing on the cake would have been the 3 points, and we got that yesterday. But the big thing yesterday was Bukayo Saka signed up Tony, and this could have went really bad for Arteta if he hadn't been able to convince him, Tony, to sign.
Yeah, since it was already past June 30th, starting January 1st, he could have signed a pre-contract and been gone and got no money for him. I still don't know why we didn't tie him down quicker. We could have talked to him plenty during the lockdown, had 3 months to convince him. But I'm happy.
Go, Rowan?
It's done now. Like, why wasn't it done like 3 months earlier? It's done now.
It's done now. It's a huge weight off the shoulders. This is a player we've seen Arteta's using in many, many ways, all along the left-hand side, and even a little bit centrally in midfield. And I personally believe our midfield's so bad that Saka is a talent that can help us on the left side of midfield, and we've got overloads there. And another point is, I talked about Martinelli scoring so many goals. He was first teenager to do such a thing since Anelka. Similarly, Saka is the first teenager to get into double figures for assists since Cesc Fabregas in 2006, 2007. So that just shows his quality, Alonso.
Yeah, for me, you know, I think it's important because we haven't had a young prospect like this since Fabregas. And I think he plays maybe 3-4 different roles, and it's important for backup reasons. And he's just so young, so good, so fast. And he knows Eddie Nketiah, he knows Joe Willock, he knows Rich Nelson. So hopefully with him, he can build on that, and the whole team can build on that. And you know, the youngsters are pretty good, you know, and so I think it's a big signing, big momentum builder for the team, and it's very exciting. I can't wait to see him progress even more.
All right, Stan, welcome to the podcast. We got a full house tonight.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm a little bit late.
Not at all. I'm glad you're able to join in. You just got in on the first topic here. You just got cued in on Saka. Your 2 cents on Saka signing for 4 years.
Well, I have to admit I was a little bit nervous because they really made us wait for it, didn't they? I mean, we had 3 months of kicking our heels about on lockdown, but fantastic news. And you know, in the words of Arsene Wenger, it's like a new signing.
Yeah, that lands.
Love that.
You can say it lands like a new signing. You know.
But and the thing about him is as well, he seems you've got a player that can play a number of positions, and wherever he seems to be deployed, whatever role he's asked to do, does a very good job every time. And you know, I've not even looked up to see what his salary is because I don't care. Do you know what I mean? You know, one of those ones. Usually, I'm looking to see how much have they paid him. I don't really care. You know, he's worth every penny. As I said the other day on Twitter, you know, the guy's worth his weight in gold. And to Mr. Bungle, no, I live in Vancouver, Canada.
Yeah, Stan's recently. Congratulations, Stan, a citizen of Canada.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've been here a year, and I'm now a permanent resident.
That's awesome.
Congrats.
You're not a legal alien anymore.
We might let a few of them hockey assists count now.
Sorry, Tony.
So we might let a few of them hockey assists count.
Yeah.
You better get into it now, man. You're in the country where it was born, so You better
Canucks, yeah.
baby.
Well, I'm easing into it, right? I mean, last year when I got here, I was here for the Raptors winning their first,
Oh yeah.
in the basketball, which was a big deal. So I'm easing myself into basketball, but the next stop shall be ice hockey, all right?
And now, Stan, you need to adopt the old pre-assist. So when Mr. O does that, you got to give him credit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but this is a great thing to start off the podcast on. The title is, Project Rebuild. I really believe that since the aftermath of the Brighton game, Mikel Arteta's something has gone off in him there a little bit. The switch is gone, and he needed to be ruthless, and I think it's starting to happen. We signed up Saka. The other thing, Tony, we also did, which was good, Mkhitaryan's off the books.
Yeah, it's over 9 million a season off the books. It's nice to finally see us.
Now, Tony, we could have gotten a little bit of cash, but listen, we're not going to complain too much, right? We could have got about 10 million a little while ago, right?
Yeah, we could have got 10 million. That was 6 months ago, but still just nice to have 9.6 or whatever it is off the books.
And that's the thing, Rohan. If you want to move on from the stains of the past, wipe the last stain of Alexis Sanchez out of the club, because we got Henrik Mkhitaryan because of that deal.
So, this is classic Arsenal, right? Like, that we were getting 10 million and we said, no, we'll give him for free, right? Like, that's what essentially we did. Why did you do that? Like, if you had to sell him for 10 million and get him off the book 6 months earlier. I mean, that's just classic Arsenal. But right now, when you were saying that, I had an idea. And this sort of ties into this show that Stan and Tony were in with me, which was Andrew's show, Deal or No Deal. So, so how's about we offer Mesut Ozil $10 million to cancel his contract and to find a new club? We'll save 8 million. Like, we've cancelled Mkhitaryan's contract, so why can't we cancel Ozil's contract? We pay him 10 million. We'll save 8 million and he can find another club. Isn't it?
I think he would take it, honestly.
Yeah. I just thought of that.
I don't think he would. Tanner, do you think he would take that? He loves London too much.
Yeah, and you know what? The more that this Mesut Ozil thing drags on, and we keep hearing that, nope, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay. Blah blah blah. I think there's almost a bit of defiance to Mesut Ozil now that, you know what, you're not going to get rid of me. If you want me gone, my contract's going to run down, and that's just going to be the way that I leave. I'm not going to go anywhere else. I don't think he leaves. I think his contract gets run down, and he's gone at the end of next season. That's really the only way I see him leaving.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yep.
So, in recent times, have you guys ever seen anything like this before? I mean, I can't remember, but have you got?
Yeah, once I have.
Wait, Zoe, you talking about the Mesut Ozil situation?
Yeah, like something like that, like in soccer, in football. Like, is there anything like it before?
Stan, go ahead.
I remember Winston Bogart. He played at Chelsea, Dutch player, and there was a fallout between him and the club. And I can't remember what his salary was at the time, and I'm thinking it was maybe around £40,000. But this is a time when £40,000 is today's maybe 90,000, £100,000. It was a lot of money for the time, and
it's a lot of money now.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about.
I know.
We're all thinking that, Tanner.
Yeah.
But what happened with him was that this was a time when you had reserve football, and he was put into the reserves, and he stayed fast. And I can't remember if anyone else on the panel can remember. I'm sure it was at least 3 seasons that it went on for. It was a while that this guy Winston Bogart, he just basically gave up his career to take the money, and I can't remember why there was a fallout and what it is that made him do that. But with the Mesut Ozil situation, obviously I'm not a fan of him as the footballer. But when it comes to the financial side of it, you know, I don't actually blame Mesut Ozil. He didn't set his wage. And the day that it was announced, I was one of those that I was shocked. I was said at the time, at some point, this is going to bite us in the arse, and I didn't know how. And I know that we're going to be getting onto it a little while. One of the topics of the show is about a rebuild. And I really don't think that Arsenal can do a proper rebuild until we get rid of that off the wage bill, because when you're trying to bring people in, you know, there's not everybody that you bring in or not everybody that plays at Arsenal loves Arsenal like we do. You know, they're not all born in the area. It's a job, and if you've got this guy that's been rated at this is what this guy is worth, and you're bringing more value to the team, it's got to be difficult for you to not look over and say, you know, I'm on X, he's on X, and I just think until we can get rid of that, we're never going to really be able to move forward. How do you bring in a new player that you want to bring into the team, and you're talking about their salary and bonuses, and you've got him hanging around in the corner? You can't just say he's not there, don't look at him. He'll be gone in 12 months. Okay, you don't pay those wages anymore.
He's gathering dust over there in the corner, but you know, don't worry about him. He'll be
on the benches, on the bench, under an umbrella.
So until that's brought to a close, I'm not sure really. And we can then set the bar again and say, well, you know, we only pay up to here now. This is what we do as a club. I think it's going to be quite difficult. But as I say, as much as I dog Ozil for his performance, the financial side of it, somebody on the panel mentioned about the word defiance. And I think that it's got to a stage with him where under Unai Emery, you know, there was a public announcement that he was no longer in the team, and you know, the board were backing this. So he's probably feeling a little. I'm not saying that he doesn't love the club, but it's more of a job now, and it is a kind of a contractual agreement. And if we do offer to buy out his contract, like we did with Mkhitaryan, I mean, Rohan's the legal guy, so you have to have an agreement from the player to say, yeah, I'll settle on that. Because if that's the case, why I don't see Mesut Ozil just walking away from 8 million.
Let me ask a question, and I honestly I asked this question. It's a serious question because I don't know the answer. I mean, here we have in the States with, you know, North American sports, we have players unions. So players are to a degree protected from particular situations, maybe like this. In the States via the union. Is there anything in Europe, in UEFA, in England? Is it you know, country by country, league by league, where the players are unionized and have something to fall back on? Because if I'm Mesut Ozil, say, look, man, if there and there's no union, regardless, because the union I think would do the same thing, would say, I'm not. What are you gonna you're gonna pay me less than what you agreed to pay me 4 years ago? To do what? To walk away? Why would I do that? I don't want to walk away, and I'm not going to take less money to do it. So you want me to sit on the bench? Sure, I'll sit on the bench. You don't want to give me a shirt? I'll sit at home and watch the game on TV? Sure. So my question is there anything like a union for players? Does anybody know?
I think it's the PFA, right? The PFA.
Okay, all right. Collective. But is it
part of it?
Is it continent-wide or is it league by league?
League by league.
I think
it's league by league. Okay.
But if anything, the PFA is probably in place to really protect the players. If anything, if the PFA got involved, you know, they'd be on Mesut Ozil's side and say, "Well,
that's what I mean." So the way it would work is the club comes to Mesut Ozil and says, "Okay, here's the deal. We're going to give you. So you add up the 350 over 52. It's what 18 million a year, I think, is what he's on. Yeah. So the club comes to Ozil and says, "Okay, here's the deal. You're done here. You're not going to play. Period. You're not going to get a shirt unless it's an absolute dire necessity." Here's the thing. I've got ball boys that are 15. If there are injuries, they're going to start before you. They're going to get a jersey before you. So here's where we are. We're going to give you $10 million for you to just go away. Mesut Ozil could then fall back on the PFA. PFA comes in and says, no. This is his contract. This is what you agreed to pay him. So if you want him to go away, you pay him the whole contract. And yeah, Rowan, you're the legal guy here. So
yeah. So that's what's going to happen, and I mean it's a contract. It's a two-party contract is a two-party thing, right? So both of them need to consent to canceling the contract unless he's done something to violate the terms of the contract, which he's not. He's turning up to training. He's doing everything that he should. So I just threw in a number. Right? 10 million is a number. You could make it 15 million. You could make it whatever. It could be. It's about starting a conversation. And I just thought that and I know that this is a point that we have to pick up later with Project Rebuild. But I think this is the right time that if we can't start buying players and giving them salary parity until Mesut Ozil leaves, then why not pay him off right now and then start afresh? Why wait for another year in which players are going to come in? If 18 million is what we have to pay, then pay the 18 million and let him go. If that hampers our chances to set
and here's the other thing I guess that I would ask on this topic is, at the end of the day, I think one way or the other, if he does, we're paying his salary one way or the other. Barring a miracle, Arsenal are going to pay his salary, whether they pay it all at once up front or whether he stays and rides out the last season of his contract. I totally just lost my train of thought.
You're going to pay his money irrespective.
Hell, the question would be, so does the money still count towards financial fair play if it is paid all at once up front and he's no longer part of the team, but is that money still on the books? If you understand what I'm saying?
I mean, it doesn't matter if financial fair play out for a year. There's no financial fair play for a year, so it won't matter either way.
Wait, Tony, say that again?
So there's no financial fair play for the next 12 months. It's suspended. So
it wouldn't matter anyway.
I would say it's on the cards, Tanner.
What's that,
I would say it's on the cards, Tanner, but Ozil's a different situation. Stan?
I was just going to say, is there not a difference between Ozil and Mkhitaryan? I mean, Mkhitaryan's at Roma. He's getting a salary. I don't know if his salary's gone down. Probably the same. They bought out his contract. But for Mkhitaryan, nothing's really changed for him. He's still got, money coming in each month or whatever it is. With Ozil, we'd basically be saying, take 10 million instead of 18. And then, he then has to find the club, and there's no club that's going to continue paying him 350 a week.
Yeah,
so he's going to take a big, significant decrease.
And
that's not the point. 1 second, sorry. The math is that we pay him 10 million, and I had to quickly do the math here. So we pay him 1 million, so he has to be only on 150 grand a week for him to get parity, right? Because we've already paid 200 grand a week for him.
I see. Right. Yeah.
150.
How much would he be out of pocket?
On bonuses or any of that too, counting to it.
So he would be out of pocket for about 8 million then, right?
Yeah.
Well, but Stan, here's another thing to keep in mind with this is that if here's where Ozil could get maybe a little greedy, not necessarily with us. But what if Ozil said, you know what? Give me 15 and I'll do it. But he walks away for 15 million, goes to another club, and that club pays him 200 grand.
Yeah, exactly.
If he goes, say, to Turkey, China, how much money could they pay him? So now he's actually making more than 18 million.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's without a signing on.
I think Alonso wanted to get in, I think.
Someone get Raul's phone number. Like, we're on to something.
All right, Alonso, you're going to get the last word on this, and we got to get off this Ozil topic.
So Tanner, if I were Ozil, I would go to Fenerbahce, not China. Just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were Ozil, I would go to Fenerbahce, not China, because China. You know how we feel about China. We all know how we feel about China.
Yeah.
So I think he goes to a place that he knows, kind of, in Fenerbahce. That's just what I'm saying.
Irrespective, anyway, Mkhitaryan likes it in Rome. He was never coming back to London. And Ozil loves London, and he's not leaving for another year. So
one last thing on that: if he did just have a kid, man, does he really want to uproot the family with a child that young and move somewhere else?
I think the actual question is, does Mesut Ozil actually want to continue to play football again? That's what it is, right? If he wants to play football, he wants the opportunity to play regular football, then he should be looking at some way himself of leaving the club, and it doesn't seem to be doing that. I mean, it was just a week before football started. He done another interview with the Athletics saying that he's staying to the end. So what's going to change?
Nothing's going to change. We're going to move. We move. We're going to move on.
Can't wait.
Get rid of a golden carrot.
Can't
we're gonna
for everybody else dangling because they don't want more money.
So we're going to move on. Alonso, this is what happens. You set out an itinerary.
Crap.
It gets off kilter a little bit. Stuck on the Ozil track.
That's my fault.
All good, Tanner. All good. Let's get back on track. Great that Bukayo Saka is signed. Let's button this up. He's got the trust of Emery. He had the trust of Lundberg, and he had some kind words for Unai Emery as well, who gave him his debut. And every player is going to speak about the coach who gives him his debut and had the belief in him. He's been at the club for since 8 years of age, so has that love for the club. And I hope he can help us I think he can help us to get back on track and, rebuild. Project Rebuild.
He's a player that can be the backbone, not literally when we talk about spine of the formation, but he's a player that can be the backbone or a cornerstone of this rebuild. He's a player that Arteta can really build around, and here I've got this player in place and put the pieces around him to complement.
Exactly, Tanner. And we're seeing green shoots all over the pitch. Kieran Tierney's another bright spark for us.
Boy, the left side is on lock right now.
Yeah. And we're going to get into the other vital cogs of the team as well, which Tony will bristle about. But we're going to get there, Tony. All right. Listen, this is what I believe. This Project Rebuild. I believe something happened to our team in that Brighton game. We all know what happens. Something more importantly, I think, happened to Arteta. He started to see the desire wasn't there, and he needed to do something. So this is going to be a broad topic about post-Brighton, a new focus, a new dawn. I believe something clicked with Arteta, and he started to get more strict with this team. Dan?
Well, we've got the Ozil and the bad stuff out of the way. I think the rest of the podcast is going to be pretty good because I feel really good about, the game against the last game that we've just had, because you've had a bit of a shit time since football's come back. And I know a lot of people going, well, it's only Norwich, you should be beating them. Well, there's a lot of teams, over the last, so many months that we should have beaten that we haven't, and I saw a lot of positives in the game. And if they can carry that forward and build on that, I'm all for it. I mean, I don't like the formation. I don't even think Mikel Arteta likes playing five at the back. But I think what he's done is he's found that, well, maybe the players that he's got are better to fit this system, and it's working. So let's not struggle trying to do what I really want to do just yet. Let's find something that fits with what I have. And I think we're probably going to see this formation a lot more before the end of the season, and I'm okay with that if it means that we can get the most out of the players that we have. And Mikel Arteta, he came with a huge reputation of one of his big attributes is that he improves players, and maybe this is what we're seeing, that by able to tinker around with tactics and get players to play in this formation, it's improving them, and the results hopefully will be better. Because, there was a lot of positives, especially some players that I've been quite tough on recently, really stood out to me in a positive way in the last game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Want to go to Tony next, because Tony's actually brought me around a little bit to three at the back. I was a little bit resistant to that. And Stan, I'm starting to really, really like it, because we did a pre-game podcast. I think Tony was for the FA Cup game. It took us two or 3 minutes to figure out what the heck Arteta was trying to do there. who would think Kolasinac could play as a left center back, right, Tony? So, and I think you're right, Stan.
Germany, so it didn't surprise me much.
Stan, I think you're right. Arteta's finding, I think, areas of the pitch that these players are comfortable in, and he's putting them in those positions. So, the formation is what the formation is going to be. So, Tony, I'm going to go to you. What do you think about what happened post Brighton? And we won a couple of games since then. We got some momentum back.
Yeah, the first one after that, I still don't think we showed enough fight in the first half or the whole game really for losing 2 in a row. I still would like to see a hell of a lot more fight than we've seen. But I like the switch to the back three. I know I kept getting shit from all you guys when I put up my lineup before the matches. Like,
That's okay. Now you can take the high ground, Tony. It's okay. You know what I really
high ground. Come down here with us.
Tony, it cannot be coincidence to me that post Brighton we've seen 2 games where a forward has closed down a goalkeeper and now scored a goal. That is something that we would not have seen pre-lockdown, pre all of that stuff.
You've seen some other teams do. I just wonder how much not having a crowd there is affecting the keeper back there.
Yeah. So forgive me, Alonso and Tanner. Rohan, I'm going to go to you next because you were pretty pissed off with that post Brighton podcast we had after about 4 minutes. Go back and check it, everybody. There's steam coming up out of Rohan.
Right. I mean, there was just lack of spirit from the team, right? Like since it's restarted, it seemed like Man City, we were resigned to lose, and then we waited 3 months and then we see that sort of performance, and then we're like, okay, it's Man City, the next game we're gonna do well, and then we didn't show fight in there. That was the part that was pissing off, right? Like we could have, I don't mind losing, but you show some fight. You never hear me complaining about that loss that we had to Manchester United when we played at home, right? When we had like 48,000 shots on target, right?
3-1, yeah.
But there was no fight. And since then, what's happened is that in the Southampton game, we played the first half with some fight. And we played a very good first half. And the second half, Southampton was sort of coming on us. But then we got the winner at the end. That really lifted our spirits after Brighton, where we conceded it, right? Poorly.
Yeah.
And then the Norwich game, which was like absolutely perfect. We absolutely knocked them out of the park. Everything clicked for us. And, I'm generally okay if that's what Arteta wants to play. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with 3 at the back. Auba's getting time in the center a lot more, and I'm liking that. Mm-hmm. The team is doing well. Since then, I think Arteta has definitely laid down a marker because Guendouzi's been out of the team, and he's had some harsh words for Guendouzi. So he's absolutely paid attention to the attitude of the players, and he's not accepted this BS of showing spirit after the 90 minutes. You got to show spirit in the 90 minutes. That's what we did against Norwich, and that's why we won.
Yeah, Tanner, a couple of our podcasts since that Brighton game has been a bit spirited, let's say. A lot of it was around maybe a Guendouzi as well,
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's been a bit of a lightning rod, for Arsenal supporters, especially what I see on Twitter with Guendouzi, and you get there are 2, I think, very distinct crowds. There's a good coach would take him aside, put his arm around him, and coach him up. Whereas, Tony. Whereas there's another crowd, and I think I fall into this crowd where I think at this point, I think that's been done. I think the arm around the shoulder was done after the supposed Dubai incident, and he just continues to act up. And at this point, I think Arteta has said, you know what, man, all right, you're done. I don't really care at this point. You're done. So stay home. And I, at this point now, having not seen him in the Norwich game, not even in the subs, because that would have been the game where I think he would have gotten back in.
Yeah.
If I see him Saturday against Wolves, I will be shocked. Tony,
There's no way. There's no way he can play against
I
Wolves.
come to Oklahoma, I'm going to chug a bottle of Jaeger. That's how shocked I will be if Matteo Guendouzi even gets a jersey on Saturday against Wolves. Just real quick, if I may, I want to make a comment about Arteta and coaches. And as a coach, you need to be adaptable, especially when you come in a situation that Arteta came in the middle of the year, because you're not going to get your players. And so the question is, do I want to force my system on these players where maybe these players don't fit that system? Or am I going to look at these players, look at their strengths, and create a system to benefit them? And I think the mark of a good coach is, yes, Stan, I think, mentioned it, making players better, but also recognizing players' strengths and designing a game plan, tactics, formations to suit them as well.
Yeah.
Because some players at this point, David Luiz, is Mikel Arteta going to make David Luiz better? Is he going to make Socrates better? In my opinion, no. So what's the alternative if David Luiz is going to play? The alternative is you create a system for David Luiz to flourish in private. And that is what gives me the most excitement when it comes to Arteta is he's both. He has a system he wants to play, but he's smart enough to know I think he has a plan B. We've talked a lot about plan B on this show, and I think he has a plan B, especially right now. So
I had to turn.
Kudos for the back three, brother. I'll give you your props on that, man. Well done.
Yeah, at the turn of the year, I was talking about the players that Arteta's been working with, and I've looked across the whole squad. He improved most of the squad, but the one player I kept on mentioning was Guendouzi, because I had not seen a noticeable change in his game. He still has the errors are still there in his game, and Arteta knows those errors, because I was thinking about this today. What's the first game for him as an Arsenal coach would have been sitting on the Manchester City bench alongside Pep at the Emirates. That was really his first game, because he pretty much knew he was coming to the Emirates in that game. And he watched, it's Kevin De Bruyne, right, Ryan? But he watched Guendouzi get drifted past by one of the best players in the Premier League, and he's just not. He gets passed by too much in the Premier League.
So I mean, getting passed by Kevin De Bruyne is no insult, really. But the fact of the matter is that we haven't seen what Guendouzi is best at, and if Arteta's given up on Guendouzi, I would, although I'm not in the Guendouzi camp, I'd still feel sad because he's a young player, right? Like, I mean, he could have some attributes. He could go out and he could, perform. That's what I think. Could happen. But if it's not going to work out, it's not going to work out. His energy can be channelized in a good way, and he could be a good player. But if Arteta feels that he's done enough of that and he doesn't want to waste that time there, then I'm back Arteta.
Yeah, I think he's a saleable asset at this point in time. He's going to generate some money. He's going to get a transfer or swap. But I wanted to go to Alonso next. Post Brighton, a new focus, a new dawn. What have you seen since Brighton, Alonso, that you're enthusiastic about?
Well, like Stan, I was just kind of optimistic about the back three because it just doesn't seem right. But like Tanner said, if you had the right players in the system, that makes it work. And we have that. And I think Kolasinac is my only worry because he's just not fast enough. He's good going forward, but going back, he's a liability. So I think having a guy like Saka, who stays in his defensive position, having Ceballos in his offensive position, I think it's doing all right. I think it works well. I think Arteta's not afraid to adapt to his opponents, and I think he uses the players' strengths more than their weaknesses. And I think that hopefully the back three will work against Wolves. I think hopefully it will. But I like how Rob Holding has done a good job in the back three, and it just brings back memories about how he did a good job in the FA Cup final with an older Soccer and a left back makeshift Nacho Monreal. And unfortunately, I don't think Sosnetch is that Monreal.
No, definitely not. And as I mentioned earlier, Stan, we're seeing signs from Arteta. He's got the forwards closing down goalkeepers. We've got the press going. There's a little bit more enthusiasm, and we've had some decent wins. We went away to Southampton, which hasn't been easy for us in previous years. Got a win which seemed facile and pretty easy in the end. Had that dramatic win at Sheffield United, which is not an easy place to go to. And then we beat Norwich City. Oh, by the way, we beat Norwich City.
Here's the thing. Just cycling back a little bit about the management style of Guendouzi. I think Arsenal fans, we are a real fickle fan base. Probably me included as well. What I mean by that is you got the one side of it where you've got fans saying, "Well, Arsenal players they just get it so easy." You need a manager to come in with an iron fist, and shake these players up and show them that they don't run the roost. So, Guendouzi acts up in the manager's eyes. He comes in with an iron fist, and he gets a section of the fans going, "Oh, what's he doing? Why is he keeping him out?" It's a bit harsh, isn't it?
You're never going to please all of them, right?
And then you got those fans, they start saying, that's a bit harsh. We've got no players that have got no fire in their belly. We finally get one, and Mikel Arteta's trying to snuff it out. So you can't please everybody all of the time, right? But if you put all of that to one side, remember what Raul and his posse told us when they came in, when they sort of bought the ranch. They said, what we're going to do is we're going to get some young players, find them, and we're going to be a self-sustaining model and make money. So, how much should we pay for Guendouzi? Around 7 million, 8 million.
Or 8. Yeah.
If we're selling him on, and I don't know what the figure is, but I've seen 40 million euros mentioned, 40. Right? And I've even seen stories about a swap for Partey. Mm-hmm. If something like that happened, then that's us keeping to a self-sustaining model. And you'd have to say that if you bought him at 8, we sell him for 40, or we use it in a some kind of a trade for a Thomas Partey. You've got to say that we've upgraded on the player if we can bring in Partey. I'm not saying that Guendouzi might not have a bigger ceiling, but for now we've got more chance in getting to where we want to be a lot quicker. Or if we don't do a part exchange and we can get that kind of cash, that cash could be that cash could be put to good use. Upamecano or the Thomas Partey if that's not happening. So there's a few ways that you can look at it, and I just feel that some of the fans are so fickle. We want it all. We want to be a self-sustaining model, but then when we find these gems, we don't want to sell them. We want to keep them.
And we shouldn't get so
iron fist. But when he has an iron fist, we say he's been too harsh. We want players to have fire in their belly. But when they have fire in their belly, we say they're petulant and immature.
Yeah, we're actually like the parents. The fans are the mother and the father, and don't be so harsh on the kid. You know what I mean, Tony?
And last year, probably 70-80% of our fans, when teams were sniffing around Guendouzi for 50, 60 million pounds, hardly anybody wanted him to go. And I'll go to Tanner with a question. You have your 3 Beagles. Can you treat them all the same?
Hold on. I see what you did there. No, the answer is no. I don't treat them all the same because they each have their own personalities. So, as a coach, you also have to be a man manager. And, I think, Stan, it runs a little deeper than just. I think it's a bit naive to say that the only that Arteta's just pissed off at what Guendouzi did at the end of the Brighton game, and that's why he's not handed him a shirt for the last 3 games.
Oh, there's more to it than that.
I think Arteta went to Guendouzi after that, sat him down, had a talk,
didn't like his reaction, doesn't like his actions on the pitch or on the training ground. And I think that's what it is. And at that point, see, again, you don't go to guys and, okay, well, I hit you over the head with a sledgehammer and that didn't work. I treat you with kid gloves and that doesn't work. So I can't let you run amok. You know, and with Guendouzi, I think that's, I don't know. I'm not there.
It sounds like that they've had a meeting and he's brought him in, and, to say to him, look, what you did wasn't at the right time. It wasn't appropriate, do whatever. And instead of sort of like going, yeah, you're right, boss, it's not going to happen again. I'll work on it. It sounds like Guendouzi's just stood up, thrown the chair over and gone, fuck this shit. I'm out of here.
I believe the saying might be boys out of the ground after that talk. But I think after that talk, he was just like, okay, I don't think he got it. I just don't think he I think if I had to, I'm going to assume here, but I think what it really is, I think Arteta looked at this and said, you're lucky that you didn't get banned by the FA. I'm going to hand down my own punishment because I think you deserve it. And now I think Guendouzi's just gone all boo-boo face and took his ball and went home, basically.
I have a question.
Sorry, go on along.
So do you think that whenever Emery played Guendouzi so much last year, that Guendouzi felt entitled for a starting 11 position?
That's a great point.
And whenever things got bad, or at least whenever Guendouzi would hang out with Aubameyang and Lacazette, he didn't discipline him because he's younger, or didn't discipline him enough, I should say. And let him get away with a lot of stuff. So we don't really know what was on in training or in his personal life or outside the pitch. But do you think he got away with a lot too much?
Yeah, with the Aubameyang Lacazette thing, and you're right, Zoe. He was hanging out with those guys. But here's the thing, man: those guys have paid their dues.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like
you don't come into a side and just because the two main strikers in this club are your best pals, French and you're French, and there's the French connection, and whatever. We're all we. Man, they paid their dues. They put in their time, they put in their shifts, and they're allowed to do this because, hey, here's the thing. I know this, and I'm saying this as an example. I don't mean this seriously. But if Aubameyang and Lacazette want to go out and run around London till 4:30 in the morning on the night before a game, as long as they turn up the next day and they put the shift in, then you don't like it, but if they do it, then you're like, yep, okay.
You can't just walk into
the comments, and I saw Ryan.
You can't just walk into Al's diner for the first time in a leather jacket and think you're the Fonz. It don't work like that. You know what I mean?
You're speaking my language, man. You're speaking my language.
But I just have this vision of, I don't know if any of you have seen Quadrophenia, but I just got this vision that when Mikel Arteta was trying to talk to him, I had this vision that Guendouzi was like Phil Daniels when he told his boss to shove his job up his arse. I just got a feeling that he didn't react well. But the story I heard is that he's actually said, I'm out of it. I'm not going to sign a new contract, and I'm done.
I want to hit on one other thing that Zoe said, and I think this was a great point. That Emery played him match in, match out, was giving him practically the entire game at the very beginning of his Arsenal career. And yeah, that may have just put the thought into Guendouzi's head that, hey, I'm the man around here. He walks around, and I don't want to say what I'm thinking right now, but just I try to keep it.
Right. Anyway, we're going to draw a line under that banner. We're going to move on, and because that was enough of Guendouzi, and we're on to the next section. But I do want to say the post Brighton, Arteta knew that his job was at stake if he didn't crack the whip, and we're starting to see that. And we can't be attached to players. I think Stan has made that point in the past. We're not particularly attached to too many of the players. Anything can happen in this window. There's half of the team could move at any one point in time. So, anyway, Tony, I wanted to start off the review of the Arsenal Norwich game. And boy, I tell you, if you ever needed a main player to step up on a day and come back, a talisman and a leader, what about Granit Xhaka, Tony?
Oh man,
Oh my god, dude.
In the words of Ric Flair,
You mean
sounds
it's
like Ray's got
6.5
you guys writing his material for him.
That was funny.
that was tremendous.
I like that.
the leader?
Yeah, our leader, our talisman, our main
cheerleader.
player, first player on the team sheet. First player on the team sheet, Granit Xhaka steps up, leads the way, scores a goal against Norwich City.
The Lacazette back covering his position.
His wasn't the first goal though, was it not?
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I was just building. I was leading Tony up to that. He was thinking I was going to talk about Aubameyang and hit him with Xhaka. So I think we all would have been okay talking about Aubameyang. So yeah, so Tony, real life here. Aubameyang, he's back. He was on a little bit of a hiatus there. He wasn't able to get some goals, and he was able to notch 2 goals today.
Ray, you know, he's going to score them 2 goals.
Yeah, I know, but listen. A 4-0 is a 4-0, right, Tony?
Your great win against a crappy team.
You got to give the team credit for going out there and beating the team. Now, are we going to get gassed about this? Probably not, because Norwich and they're a team. They're in the relegation zone, bottom of the table. You should be beating Norwich 4-0, Tony, right?
Yeah, we still had a lot of the same problems. We couldn't move a ball up the middle. Still totally flank play. But we got 3 points and 4 goals and move on.
Rohan, a great goal by Aubameyang to start with.
So we should have beaten them anyway, but we drew with them 2-2 in the last leg, right? So I mean, nothing comes for granted. We're like looking at scraps right now. You know, we've got like 43 points or something like that. You know, we don't have the luxury of thinking that we're just going to steamroll teams. You know, and I do understand that the goal at the end, when the position that he came in would have been scored by anyone, but he got in that position. If it is so simple, why didn't Lacazette score 2 goals in that game? You know, why isn't someone else the top scorer in the league, right? Like, we've got the highest scorer in the league, and just because he doesn't score for a couple of games, or he doesn't have that attitude to lead the team or to yell at people, we somehow degrade him for that, you know, which is unacceptable. You know, he is the world-class player that we have, and with his first goal, he's shown that time and age has no effect on Aubameyang, you know, and this is the same goal. This is not the first time he's done this. He did it also against Watford, right, last year. And in fact, Ben Foster had said that you can't imagine how unbelievably fast Aubameyang is. You see him there, and then the next moment he's in front of you. So it's not just by luck that he got in there. It's his skill to actually get in there, and his skill to get into space to have those tap-ins. You know, he plays inside the box, but he's the best at it.
And he's ready to pounce. He's always there, Rohan. He doesn't pass up these kind of chances when they come.
You know, one more thing that other people will not mention. He was on a hat-trick and he got hooked off.
Yeah,
he came off with a smile on his face. Imagine Sanchez getting hooked off at that stage.
Yeah, different animal.
I was even sure that if there was going to be a penalty in that game, it would have gone to Lacazette. He would have given it to Lacazette. You know, think that he would have given it to Lacazette.
And Rohan, I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to stay with you a second. Rohan, I'll stay with you a second because I know you are a big Aubameyang, and rightly so, supporter. He got to 50 goals. The quickest Arsenal player to get to 50 goals in 79 matches. 62 goals or assists in 79 games. That's superb.
That's
And he gave up 2 penalties in 2 seasons to
Exactly.
his strikers.
He's given up penalties. He's been a team player. He's played out wide. He's not played in his preferred position. He's tracked back. He's done everything for the team. He's kept the morale up. The only thing that people can say about him is that he doesn't have the leadership that we expect. He's not the Patrick Vieira.
And perhaps Rohan, it's unfair to ask that of him. If he's chipping in with all those goals, we should have characters in that dressing room where our main striker, our talisman, doesn't have to be the captain.
Exactly, and he has been a model professional. When he came into the squad, people were like, he's a troublemaker. He's gonna, disintegrate the squad, so on and so forth. But none of that has happened. He's been a model professional, and at 31, he's not showing signs of slowing down. He's not showing signs of getting injured. He's hardly ever injured. The longest that I think he's missed games for Arsenal is when he got the red card against Crystal Palace. Right?
Rohan, I need you to touch wood right now.
So, exactly, I just did that, and
yeah, definitely.
It's all of these attributes put together, we have a world-class striker, and we need that going forward. And I've been very happy with the comments that Mikel Arteta has made in the press conferences in the last few days.
Alonso, I want to get a fresh perspective. Aubameyang and Lacazette, compare and contrast, and how do we get Lacazette going again? Tough question.
Well, to me, I think Lacazette works hard. He holds up to play very well. I think with Lacazette, he just tries too hard, and when he does try, he just overwhelms. And with a guy like that, I think if he gets overwhelmed like that or overwhelms, he should just pass it back to someone who's inside the box and let them handle it. Or, it's kind of tough to say because he's not as fast as Aubameyang, and Aubameyang can do everything right, it seems like. Where Lacazette he just stalls. He just goes. He just has heavy toes,
Yeah, Alonso, where do you think Lacazette stacks up against his main competition in Eddie? Who do you like at this point in time?
I like Eddie.
Lacazette or Eddie?
I like Eddie because he brings more to the striker position and the center forward position, where Lacazette he gets overwhelmed too much, and Eddie is not afraid to do those things that Lacazette can't do.
Yeah. Tanner, Stan, Norwich game. Who wants to jump in?
Touching on the Aubameyang and the Lacazette chat there. My worry is with Aubameyang, and I agree with a lot of what Rohan says, is that, but he's 31 years old, and my worry is that if we give him 300 grand, say, or let's say we put him on parity with Ozil, and what's the length of the contract that we would give him? Would it be a 2-year contract or a 3-year contract?
2
years. A 2-year contract. Okay, a 2-year contract. My biggest worry is that we've got a player that at any point form could dip. That's what I'm worried about, and I don't want to get saddled with a player we give him a big contract, and let's say we gave him a 4-year, 3 or 4-year contract. At some point, there's going to be a dip, and he's not going to be the player that's going to be starting every single week because of that.
You're talking maybe 2 seasons, Stan.
Yeah,
I don't think
that's a slight worry for me. I see worry. You see the way he sat up though, man.
Hold on a second, Rohan. Tony.
There isn't
Tony. How old is Sergio Aguero right now?
34.
34. Sergio Aguero.
He's not 34. He's
34.
29, I think.
No,
34. Not 34.
31, maybe?
31, 32.
Tony.
I think he's 32.
He's 32.
But you don't get more assurances of a player with quality than Aubameyang. If you think that Aubameyang's form can dip, then everybody's form can dip. You know?
Yeah, exactly. That's what the point I'm making. Everybody's form can dip, and
But-
that's my biggest worry. Is I'm just saying that my biggest worry is that we're going to get saddled with another 350 grand a week player who's for whatever reason is not in their best. At some point, his form's going to dip. If he was 28, 29, then I could see that. But I'm just saying that my worry is that I don't want to get into another Ozil territory where we're not getting back what we're giving.
Well, let me pose a bit of a different viewpoint here. If I were Arteta right now, I swear to God I would say this, and I mean this wholeheartedly. I'm not saying this I'm saying this as me. And if I were the coach, if I were in Mikel Arteta's shoes, I would be screaming from the rooftops that I want Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to retire at the Arsenal.
How many years?
Here's the thing with this: you can't. It's an unrealistic expectation to say we're always going to sell players at the right time. This club has done just the opposite, where we either never sold the player and let them walk for free, Aaron Ramsey, or we sell them too soon and we don't wait for them to come in to their proper value. But with Aubameyang, here again, do you trust that Eddie Nketiah can be that guy? I don't. Right now, I don't. I give Aubameyang a 4-year contract. Here's why. I think he's got 3 solid years left as a striker. I use that 4th year, if he dips that much, I use that 4th year to try to sell him. If not, at the end of the day, he's 35
You
years.
read my mind. Can I just say you read my mind?
Anyway,
I have a question
I
for
read
Tanner.
my mind, Tanner. You just read my mind, and it was a question I wanted to ask all of you. If you're in charge right now of writing contracts, you're in charge. Aubameyang, how long are you giving him, and how much are you going to pay him?
I give him 4. I give him 4 because I want that 4th year, because I want it to be basically an option to sell him on at that point. But here's the caveat to this. If he comes into my office and sits down and says the conversation starts at $250,000 a week, my conversation starts at 2 years. So that number,
Yeah,
at 250,000, the conversation
the
starts
overall
at
package.
2 years. So the number one number comes down, one number goes up. So if he wants to come down to 200,000 a week, okay, now we're at 3 years. You want to come down a little bit lower than that, and we tack on some goal bonuses. Score me 20 goals, I'll give you an extra $3 million a year. You score 20 goals this year, you get an extra $3 million for the season.
Hey,
None of
Tanner,
it per goal.
Alonso wants to get in there.
Tanner, would you use Aubameyang's 1st year as, say, a Bergkamp role?
As a Bergkamp.
As
Like a backup striker or a second striker to the main striker, or would you use him as a backup or on a
Well,
I don't think he has that
I
creativity.
think what you're saying.
would go for a backup role. I just don't think his ego would ever allow him to do that.
You're talking about retiring, though. Like maybe that last year, that last year, you're bringing in someone else. Maybe you've brought in another striker and you're using it as a handover. So you've got him in the background.
That would
you know
be
what I mean?
with the 4th year. I think as supporters, we have to accept that some players are going to come in and they're just going to run down their contracts because that's because you don't want to sell too soon. So you kind of pigeonhole yourself, and you're like, well, I didn't want to sell him last year because last year he was still at the top of his game. You know, that drop off, that cliff can come really quick.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know, Rohan. I don't know where you stand on this. I know you're an Aubameyang guy. I'm an Aubameyang guy.
I'm quite confident that he's.
Tell us how much, right? How much you're going to pay and what contract length?
Ask Tony.
That's Tony.
Same amount he's getting now. With what he's making now, a half a week's salary and 2 goals, he made $190,000 yesterday,
Including the goals.
including the goals.
So what's his basic now then?
200,000.
So he's on 200,000 basic and he gets 45 grand a goal.
That's all right.
209. So he just made $290,000. You think he'll give me a loan?
But I'm interested though. So if you're gonna increase his contract, how is 31? I don't know when he's 32 or he just turned.
So he just
Um,
turned 31.
He's just turned. Right. I'm interested, like Rohan and the other guys here. How long would you give him the contract for, and how much you're going to pay? Is that because do we have to consider that once you get into that last year, you've either got to sell him quick or he's going to run it down?
Stan, he's got one more year.
2
He's
years.
got one more year.
For a year, isn't you?
Stan,
Here in 3 years.
he's got one more year, so extend him for 2 more years. Then you have latitude to sell him.
Yeah.
He's a saleable asset when you see decline.
Right. Can I ask Tony a question? Go ahead, Rohan. I'm sorry.
In my opinion, I don't think that we should think about selling him at any point, because the wages that we're going to give him, nobody's going to give that for a 34-year-old. Right?
Rohan wants to keep him until he's 90.
And look, Ryan said we're crazy. We're crazy if we're not Oba guys. I think we're all Oba guys, but we don't want a player leaving the club with no
And
catch.
has he ever given any indication that he's after the money? If he was after that 45 grand, then he wouldn't give up his penalties, right? He would take his penalties. He would take other penalties. He would start diving. Like, he's never done that, right? Like,
with under Project Rebuild.
I'm in his camp. I was going to say, I'm in his camp. I see Ryan. I'm in his camp. Him and Leno are our best players. My only kind of worry is the Ozil thing. I don't want to be bitten again, for a second time, because, as I said earlier, I don't want to be saddled with that, but I don't want to talk about the money all the time.
Dan, we just took 180 grand off with Mkhitaryan. That's good news.
Yeah, that's nice.
Saka signed. That's great news.
Yeah.
It looks good on the Aubameyang front. Arteta's starting to smile about Aubameyang. We think he's staying, so that's all good things. Now, Tony, no pressure. You have to name the Tony Don Juan man in a match.
Want to see Tanner's question first, then I'll give it.
All right. My question was on the Aubameyang contract thing. Is it possible to backload or to front load the contract, so that if you sold him at the end of in other words, if you gave him, Ray, the 2-year extension, and here's actually what I would do real quick. I'd give him the 3-year extension based on what you're saying. This is what I would do. I'll take your 2 years. I'll take his current contract. I'll rip it up for next season, and I'll give him 3 years. So I give him a new 3-year contract. But here's a question. I'm not saying I would do this, but is it possible to front load the contract so that in the first year he makes X amount a week, in the second year he makes a little less, and in the third year he makes even less? You know where my head's at with this, Tony.
Yeah, I don't think I do that in football like I do in NBA.
Right. Can they? I don't know. It's just,
why not? It's a contract. Get me in there. I'll draft it for free. Plus $1 million.
Let's say again, Rohan.
Get me in there. I'll draft it for him.
Yeah, right.
Do all the work
for free.
All right.
If I ever get a job with the Arsenal, man, you're my legal guy. I'm bringing you in. So.
Rohan finishes the contract with Aubameyang, and a couple of days later, it transpires that we're paying him like 600 grand a week.
It'll all happen
just because he gave Rohan a signed shirt.
It'll have the Van Persie clause.
Let's go around and answer Abdi Aziz's question here. Would we give Oba 350 a 4-year deal? I think unanimously no. Rohan
probably would.
He was hesitating. Rohan was a little bit.
No, I wouldn't. But I don't think that he's not after that money. If you sell him the project and you tell him that you can make it up in different ways, which is goal bonuses and other things, and we want to improve the squad in the next 2 years, he'll also want to win a title. He's never won a title.
And Rohan, you're exactly right. The team, he's scoring goals in this team. Imagine if we tweak it and make it just a little bit better. The team is set up for him to score goals, 25 goals a season, guaranteed, I would say. You're not getting that with Lacazette, Tony. You can shake your head all you like, but Lacazette's not getting you 20 goals a season. All right.
One of those numbers has to come down. In the 350 over 4 years, one of those numbers has to come down.
Yeah.
Here's the way at least if I were the GM, contracts are going to work this way for a player of his age. You're either going to get the money or you're going to get term. You're not going to get both. So in other words, you're going to get all the money, but you're only going to get a 1 or 2 year deal, or you're going to get security in the term, but you're not going to get all the money. You'll make more over the course of the contract because you'll sign we're not talking that big a difference in the dollar amount.
Yeah, and Abdulaziz has said we kind of missed our window if we were going to get a lot of money for Aubameyang with coronavirus and all that stuff. But Stan, I know you wanted to say something, Stan.
Yeah, I mean, we've paid Lacazette, I think, in goal bonuses now. I think it's just over £2 million in goal bonuses. It's not bad. It's not a bad job when you think about it. They sign in to score goals, and then you get a bonus for scoring the goals as well. That's incredible. But with Lacazette, it seems to me that he's invented his own position. It looked like Lacazette plays in a false 8 position, and that's a new one on me. He's a striker playing as a false 8.
Yeah.
Ask Arteta.
Tony, give us your man in a match for the Norwich game, for God's sake.
I'm actually a cool quick one here and do 2 of them. I'm going to give Portuguese Carl Jenkinson a sub of a match, Don Juan sub of a match, and Kieran Tierney gets man of a match again.
Cedric Suarez and
Kieran Tierney.
Oh, okay. It is a bit harsh. I mean, we're talking about a striker who scored 2 goals.
And an assist. And he got an assist.
And he doesn't even get a mention.
He was in there.
Granit Xhaka scored a goal and didn't cost us a goal. That's a match-winning performance, isn't it?
I mean, I would have said taking Aubameyang out, 2 goals and assist is fantastic. But taking that out, I would have. The guy that really caught my eye in the last game, and it's a player that I've been saying that I wouldn't spend the money on, Danny Ceballos. I thought bossed it. Yeah. And again, I mean, I don't want to like cream myself because of 1 game and Burnley. But I mean, if this is something that he can maintain. If he's going to play in the next game and he's going to play like that again, he's got my interest. I'm interested if this is a regular thing.
Hey Stan, but do you like the formation that he's in? I
don't know. I mean, I hate the formation. I said that a little bit earlier, and I think Mikel hates it. But it seems to be working. He's using the tools that he's got to work with. If you see what I mean.
That's crazy, right?
And I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but with that last game as well, Mikel Arteta spent most of his time coaching Danny Ceballos through the game.
Yeah.
Constantly shouting, constantly guiding, constantly, And what I liked about Danny Ceballos as well was his passing was good. He had a range of passing as well. He was in short passing, long passing. And I even seen him nicking the ball off of Norwich players, spinning on a sixpence, starting the attack off again. I was so impressed because up until now, I was saying, well, Burnley was a 1-game wonder. I've seen a couple of flashes, but I wouldn't spend money on him. But if he continues to do what he done in the Norwich game, he has my interest. If this is if this is taking him this amount of time to bed in, and this is what we're going to stay. If this is his level, I'm interested.
And Tony, you're getting an endorsement from Ryan on Kieran Tierney. Go ahead, Tony.
I would love to see him paired with Party next year, Ceballos. I think it'd be a good partnership in the middle to keep this type of formation.
I understand, Rohan, that we're keeping Ceballos for another year, another loan.
They're thinking about just buying him now, I think.
Have we done anything about it? We just announced that he's staying till the end of the season.
I thought I saw something about him staying another season. With an option.
He said he wanted to stay in England.
The Abdulaziz talking about Laka being played out of position. Both Emery and Arteta used him in different ways, and we could talk about heat maps and all that stuff. But he believes he's using him in the wrong way. Remember, at big games, he was always the only player to shine last year. Even Oba was bad in the big games. So Lacazette has just lost his way, Tony, though. He's not the player he was.
Yeah.
I still think all team
in the
dropped.
same way, Guendouzi is an asset that we can use in a self-sustaining model. Lacazette is in that area as well for me.
It's a
I
shame.
think he got unsettled by all the players dropping tools because he's the one player, no matter what's going on, pissed off, fighting with Arteta. He was still out there busting his ass, being the hardest playing player out there.
You know
I
what's
think
funny?
everybody dropping tools.
You know what's funny? How Lacazette scored against Liverpool and also against Tottenham.
Yeah,
It's so
he
sad.
did score in the big games, but he's lost his
Yeah.
way.
It's sad.
Tony, in our midfield is Granit Xhaka, one of our better midfielders in midfield.
He still doesn't get it. He never gets in the starting 11 for me. I'd play Ceballos out there. Willock, he doesn't get, for me, he doesn't get out there.
Alonso, your honest opinion on Granit Xhaka?
Here we go. Okay, so everyone deserves a second chance, and I think that Arteta has done a good job with them. And I think that it was funny because we were saying, well, where are goals coming in from the midfields? Well, Xhaka found a good one from the midfields, and it was a great goal. It was a great setup by Luis, pass it to Tierney, pass it to Aubameyang, and boom, Xhaka, boom, So it's kind of cool, It was fun. It was good. It was good for him, And you can tell from the excitement when he scored that he was all in, and I think he still is all in.
Yeah. Rohan, a new beginning since the Brighton game. We've now seen 3 midfielders score. What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, we needed those runs in the box, right? Since Rambo left, there's nobody making those runs in the box, and this. I told you on the chat, right? Like it reminded me the Xhaka run, and he's not generally known for that. In fact, like he's known for his long shots, right? When Cedric scored, how happy Xhaka was. I thought that Xhaka had scored, and that's a Xhaka type goal, right? What Cedric scored. Xhaka isn't the guy to get into the box and score like that, but it was a pleasant change, and we just need a lot more goals from our midfield, especially since our number 9 gets so much love but is not scoring goals for to save his life. So that's the reason why it was an all-round performance. Fullback scoring, striker scoring, midfielder scoring, like everyone together. It was just it was great, and I like Xhaka in his play. He wasn't that slow in this game. His passing range was all right. He was taking the ball. He was scoring the goal. He was sort of making those cheeky fouls. All of this was great. And I saw a stat today that the last time that Arsenal won without Xhaka in the squad was like,
yep, here we go, Tony,
or something. It was a while back, and
it was December of 2019.
December of 2019, and the last time he lost a game when he played 90 minutes was in August of 2019, right? Like, I mean, and he's played a lot of games, so I'm not even talking about someone like.
We've lost matches when he's played. It doesn't matter when the fuck he goes off the pitch.
He's
marking at 116. Tony.
He's an important part of the team, and I'm in no way saying that he's the future of the team. He's not. That's a vital position for us. But right now,
we totally bypass it. We go down the wings. We don't play down the middle.
It's important to play with the midfield. If you don't own the midfield, you're not going to win matches.
Yeah.
He doesn't own it. It's totally avoided. We just go down the wings.
Tanner, let's get off this subject, Tanner. what was your thinking about Cedric Suarez? Did he play well? And what's your preferred combination between right back, right wing, and right winger?
I mean, it's a small sample size with Suarez. So it just, I'm treating Suarez's appearance the same way I'm treating the Norwich match as a whole, which is just we're not getting gassed over it. You know what I mean? I think we handled our business against Norwich. We did what we probably should have done. And Suarez, he played well. Yeah, he got the goal. So everybody, give him 10 years. We only gave this dude 4. Give him 10. The hell are we doing? He played well. He's shown well. Probably would have liked to see him play a little longer, quite frankly. But he definitely asserted himself, in the attacking third. So, as far as the preferred combination, Pepe's got to be the right winger for sure. And I guess if we're going to continue with the 3-4-3, I mean, I'd give Cedric right now the nod. If pecking order at that right wing back position, I guess if that's what it's going to be, it's probably going to be Cedric, Maitland-Niles, Bellerin.
Yeah.
And I'm a Bellerin guy. And I really want to see him come back from this injury, but I just don't see it right now. And unfortunately, it's a results-driven business. And if Cedric is the better player, then he gets the nod. That's just
unfortunately, like I said earlier in the podcast, we can't be attached to these players. 6 or 7 of them could leave. Any one of 6 and 7 could leave this window. Stan, any final points on the Norwich game? One thing I noticed, just before you get started, one thing I did notice in my notes is when Aubameyang scored that second goal, he did come to the sideline with the subs, and the whole team celebrated. So that's the team spirit for me that Arteta's trying to engender. Go, Stan.
Yeah, and I agree with what Ryan's saying in the chat box that Ceballos did sort of phase out in the second half. But for me, I've been so down on him. He just really caught my eye in the match. Kieran Tierney continued to show, again, how good he was. But looking at the fullback position, look at what Kieran Tierney is offering us on the left-hand side. Could you imagine if we could get a right back that had the similar work ethic and the similar traits and attributes on the right-hand side? And thinking about Hector's having a bad time at the moment, and I'll tell you, I think one of the reasons why. This inverted fullback stuff don't suit Hector. Hector's not a midfielder.
True.
He's not a midfielder. He's not suited to that at all. And it's not helping that he might have lost a little bit of pace as well. And now he's asking to do this other job. And it's going to be interesting to see whether Cedric can play this role, because this inverted fullback thing, it's a little bit of a new one on me. I never heard the phrase until this season, to be honest with you.
The inverted fullback.
Maybe I'm a little bit behind.
You know what, Stan? If anyone was watching that Liverpool City game earlier, I was looking at Robertson and thinking, we've got a better player at left back right there. Tierney is hands down better than Robertson for me.
So I mean, if we can get somebody on the right hand side doing what Tierney, I mean, we've got 2 players now in our team that can cross the ball, Tierney and Saka. But it's all coming.
Don't sleep on Kolasinac. Don't sleep on him.
It's coming from one side. We need the right hand side to be able to have similar attributes, and we might be a little bit lopsided, but I mean, Cedric, or should I say Paolo Maldini, I mean, what a debut. What a debut. I mean, he comes on and he just wellies that ball in. I mean, if Bellerin's there, does he take that shot?
No.
No.
And Chelsea.
And just going to Ainsley Maitland-Niles, maybe because of this inverted role kind of suits him. But for me, I always think that when you're looking at defenders or fullbacks, the first trait has to be defending. If they can go forward,
number one.
If they can go forward, that's a bit of a bonus. If they can get to the byline and cross the ball in, that's an even bigger bonus. But if you're only going to have the one trait, for me, it's got to be tackling and defensive nous. And I don't think Saka's got that to play it full time. He's good at covering, and I'm glad he's able to slot in there, but that's not his position. And the same with Ainsley Maitland-Niles. For me, Bellerin has still got that defensive nous. He may not be able to do what he's being asked to do by Arteta, And I think Cedric has that defensive nous as well. And we're handy that we've got this guy, Cedric, who's good on both feet as well. That could be handy.
That's what's nice about having Ceballos too, as good as his tackling is. Just kind of helps out both the wings.
Yeah, his tackling was good in the last game. Again, I really noticed him because I've been quite harsh on him. So he really stuck out when he was doing good things.
Is Cedric ambidextrous?
Say again, Cedric.
Is he ambidextrous?
I think he's good on both feet. He can play at right back and left back.
Okay.
It's handy for cover, but I mean, for crossing and moving the ball around in the defense, to be good with on 2 feet,
right?
That's a bonus, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking, right? He took the shot with his left foot, so I was thinking, is he more proficient with his left foot?
Right.
Because the issue is the right.
All right, what's going on?
That's got to be Oklahoma.
Right, send the paramedics to me.
Tony, the drones are coming for you. The drones are coming for you. That's why we have the drones. We send them to Oklahoma. Abdiaziz, if Emmy keeps this form, would you guys drop him for Leno next season? You know what? I'm probably would not, but you know, Emmy is playing to a high standard right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
as a coach, in terms of dropping a player like Bernd Leno because of injury, that is the quickest way to lose the dressing room. I love what Emi Martinez is doing, but if Bernd Leno loses his job because of injury to Emi Martinez, he will lose the locker room. I promise.
How do you think Bellerin came to prominence?
No.
Tanner, how do you think Bellerin came to prominence? It was because he had an opportunity to get into the team.
Sure.
He never looked
I think the better question with Martinez is if he keeps his form up and somebody comes in with an offer, do you sell him?
Can I challenge you on that, Tanner? I just want to clarify. Are you saying then that if a player goes out, injured, and you're the backup, and you come in to back up, and you're doing a really good job, you're keeping clean sheets, or whether you're forward, you're scoring goals, because the number one might have a bigger reputation and may have cost more, do you put them straight back in and take out the backup, or do you allow the number one guy to fight for his place back? Because it sounds to me that you're saying that if Leno comes back and he's not allowed to take up the number one spot, that's demotivational. Did I get that right?
No, I wouldn't demotivate. No, I wouldn't say that. This is when Bernd Leno is healthy, he's the number one. He comes back, he gets his job back. Now, if he comes in and he stinks up the joint, now we have a different conversation. But as of right now, Bernd Leno is your number one. And, Emi Martinez is playing very well. Don't misunderstand me. And if he continues to play this well, he may give Arteta something to think about. But that conversation only comes up if Leno comes back in and he's not doing the job that he's paid to do. Because in my opinion,
if Emi Martinez is having clean sheets at a huge 80% of his games are clean sheets, he's going to keep the job, right?
I mean, in the last couple of matches, he's almost caused assists. Do you know what I mean? With his distribution, he's almost assisted goals. And I would think it would send out a worse message if you're maybe a youth guy or a young player coming up thinking, so what? If I get my chance, and no matter how good I am, because you've got player X on the bench who used to play at such and such and is being paid more money, he just walks back into the team. You've got to be able to fight for your place, I think.
Okay. If he gets to fight for his place, he has to play, right?
Say again, sorry?
If he's going to fight for his place, then he has to play. If Bernd Leno is to fight for his place coming back from injury, then he has to be given an opportunity to play. If he doesn't play, if you just hand Martinez the job and say, you know what, you're doing a better job than Bernd Leno was doing, but Bernd Leno says, but I lost the job to injury, and it's not even like he twisted his ankle walking down the street. I mean, this was a pretty, this wasn't just some fluke, oh man, I was running out to get the ball and, ripped my hamstring right off. it's not that kind of an injury, and Bernd Leno isn't injury prone. So if Leno's going to fight for his job, he has to be given an opportunity to actually fight. So he comes back in, and if he's as long as he's doing the job, then I don't see how he loses. He's the one.
You've got me on this.
He will be playing the cup.
The young guy who comes in and says, how well I play, I'm not going to start. But if that young guy looks at a guy who lost his job to injury, says, I'm the guy, I get hurt, and I've not played poorly, I got injured. I mean, what do you do if the guy comes out with
you've got me on this one because what I was saying, my train of thought, it's kind of how I look at it. But having listened to what you're saying, I can really understand your angle as well. I do.
It's a double-edged sword, and believe me, I understand. It's back to you ride the hot hand.
Hey Stan, I have a question. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So how did Amelia lose his job to Chesney? So I forgot.
Wait, say again.
How did Amelia lose his job to Chesney? I forgot. Amelia, how did he lose his job to Chesney?
Chesney was smoking. Chesney was smoking in the dressing room.
No, Amelia.
Almunia.
How did Chesney get the job over? How did he beat out Almunia?
Yeah.
Did Almunia get hurt? I think that's how Almunia got hurt. I think he got hurt, and that's how Chesney got hurt. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I just said Kenny Chesney, but
Tanner, there will be opportunities for whoever the second keeper is will play cup games, and we'll have an opportunity on forum to get that number one spot.
But again, if you're Bernd Leno, take the stance of the player. If you're Bernd Leno and you say, I didn't do anything to injure myself, and now I come back and this guy, God bless him, he played well, but now I've lost my job to him.
But
are you mad because you look at Bernd Leno and say you're being a crybaby because you're not playing, or do you look at Bernd Leno and say he wants to fight for his job and he's not being given an opopportunity?
Yeah, but there's an argument to say that when Bernd Leno came into the Arsenal team, he wasn't a number one. He was a backup to Petr Cech. He earned that position. Cech retired, but he stepped up.
But a little different because we knew that Cech was leaving and Bernd Leno was brought in to be the number one eventually. So it's a little bit of apples and oranges. Go ahead, Rowan.
From my perspective, it isn't a punishment for Leno for him getting injured, but rather a reward for Emmy for performing well. If your team is on form, you just keep playing that team. You don't change the team, right? Like if
I'm playing the advocate, but Bernd Leno isn't going to look at it that way.
Yeah,
Bernd Leno's not going to be like,
do you ease Leno by maybe if you're easing back a player that's had the injury, to see so that you can gauge who's going to be your number one again. If the backup's having such a good form, do you ease in Leno in cup games, or do you maybe put him in to maybe a lower game that you think that we should win anyway? We should win this one anyway, so I'll put Leno in, and then you make your judgment. Do you know what I'm getting at by looking at both in action?
Yeah. I mean, look, you could get to a point where one guy has a bad game, he gets the hook. Next guy goes in, and you ride him until he has a bad game, he gets the hook. And I'll tell you, this works. It does work.
Rowan,
I'm not sure whether that will work because then they'll be on tenterhooks that I make one mistake and I'm out, right? Like you can't do that. Like you can't.
Yes, you absolutely can. Yes, you can. And again, it
comes with the job, right? They're goalkeepers. By the way, Bernd Leno has the most number of errors leading to goals in the Premier League. So and I'm a big Bernd Leno fan, and like everyone else, but and I wasn't an Emi Martinez fan. In fact, like I told you guys that I in fact saw him play Real Madrid here in DC. And the goals that were let in were sort of his fault, if you remember, you were at the game as well, Tanner. So, given all of that, I wasn't confident, but he's done well.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that at all. Back to my point. I think it's again as the coach, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because to Stan's point with if I play well, no matter how well I play, I'm never going to have the starting job because that guy's the starter for whatever reason it might be. But you look at it from the other perspective and, okay, so if it's not a bad game, if it's an injury, now all of a sudden I'm wondering, am I ever going to get my spot back in the team if I get hurt? It's a double-edged sword, and it's why I don't ever want to be a coach or a manager of a football team. So because I don't ever want to have to make that decision. They're all good points. You're not. I don't think any of us are wrong, and it's honestly it would come down to how does Arteta manage the situation? Does he agree with my point that I don't think you should lose your job to injury, or is it if you ride the hot hand, and if Emi Martinez is playing that well, then you ride it out. So.
I mean, if he does lose it, he'll lose it to good form, not to his injury. It's more about the other guy doing very well rather than it being his fault.
And you also hope that in this situation, both players are professionals and they both understand that again, results-driven business.
And Tanner, apparently there is a goalkeepers union. They are very, very good friends. They compete against each other, and they will understand that that competition will bring out the best of them. Shout out to I'm a Gunner Terry. Thanks for stopping by. Out driving around again. I think Stan usually he drops in every Thursday for us. Listen, tougher tests ahead, and Tony, I asked Tony to pull up some stats for me, and we all know it's kind of damning. So. Here's our record against the top 6, right, Tony? Away from home.
That is so sobering.
Yeah.
Hold on, we've played the top 22 times and we've not won any.
Correct, in the last 6 years approximately. And Emery came close a couple of times.
Top 6 away.
Away from home.
Right, okay, right.
What was that since January of 2015?
Jesus.
Yeah. And listen, Emery came close a couple of times. We went to Old Trafford where Rob Holding got injured. Oh, we went 2-1 up and conceded a goal through only the way we can, through not concentrating. Chelsea was another one. We could have actually won the Chelsea game this spring, but listen, we have to go into these tougher tests ahead. I'm looking to this Wolves game. It's going to be very, very tough. Ron, it's going to be very, very tough to go against this Wolves team. They're a very well-drilled team on Saturday.
Wolves is what an example of recruitment, right? Like they've recruited the right players. They've played in a right system. I'm a fan of their manager. I'm a fan of Wolves generally, how they play. I'm a fan of Jimenez. What a striker. He I think is sort of the most complete number 9 in the Premier League right now. He really is. So I just like the whole setup, and they make it difficult. We've not had it easy. I think we had a couple of draws last season or something like that, or maybe a loss and a draw. So Molineux isn't going to be an easy place to go, and we need to dig deep, and we need to not rest on our laurels after beating Norwich or getting 3 wins, but be professional, because just if we would have won Brighton, we would have been so much closer today. This set of games,
Brighton's our bogey team.
Yeah, this set of games we won, and then Chelsea have lost. United have lost. Did United lose? No, United.
They drew.
United won big actually. So, or did they? Chelsea lost. So there were a few games that went our way, and we can sort of build up momentum. We've got 4 difficult games in the Premier League now, and we don't want to get humiliated. We don't want to finish outside of the European League spots and all of that. And we're playing for pride right now. And one more stat that I want to add is that since the time that we've not won in the 22 games, I read somewhere that we, and I think Everton or someone is the only team that's not won. Every other team has won games away
in the Premier League.
And Crystal Palace has won away 6 times.
Yeah. So, Alonso, I saw a tweet about the Liverpool tweet that Jurgen Klopp had that moment where they beat Tottenham in 2017, October 2017. That's when Liverpool fans knew that they were on their way. Are we going to see that moment this season, or will we have to wait till next season? We're going to play Wolves away from home and Tottenham away from home. I think if we beat either one of those, we'll see that moment where we turn the corner and one of our coaches has coached us to a win away from home against top 6.
I think that our time will come on Saturday, right? Yeah, Saturday. I think we could beat Wolves. I think that they play the same formation as us three, the backs, and I think we're it's gonna be a tough game, but I think we can pull it out.
Yeah.
And I think that we have the match players to do so. I think that if we play the right lineup, we had the right bench to do so. I think that if we start Saka and Pepe and Aubameyang front three, I think we'll be all right. I think that it comes to formations and lineups and players.
And I was talking about having the Norwich game as a tune-up game for Aubameyang, so that's worked out perfectly. He's had his rest. He's come back. He's scored 2 goals. Aubameyang's ready. I believe Nketiah is going to play. Eddie will be ready up front. And Pepe is that enigma. He's got quality that he can show. He doesn't show it for 90 minutes, but he's got quality there. Tony's going to take a big effort, Tony, but we can go there Saturday. And listen, we give City a tough game for 40 minutes.
Yeah, hopefully we see our first 90-minute performance under Arteta. We haven't seen it. It's been a couple halves against Wolves. We got to go out there and play for the full 90.
Tanner, I think that's the important word, the performance. I think we'll take a defeat if we have a decent performance. Wolves are. I can't underestimate how good Wolves are. They're efficient. They get a goal and they don't seem to concede anything, like Arsenal in the 90s.
They're well organized, man. They're a well-oiled machine, and they're good. What else is there to say? That's it. And it's going to take a big effort on Saturday. There's no doubt. And it's somebody hit on it earlier, but I've said it before. I'll say it again. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
And we are going to have to put in a shift on Saturday up at the Molyneux. And it's just as simple as that. I'm not necessarily as confident as Doe in this. I could see us winning it, but if I had to level a prediction right now, just say I could see us drawing this. I could see it being a draw.
Abdiaziz, thanks for joining us, Abdiaziz. If we play our game and not be scared, we can beat them. Our issue the past 2 years, we've been scared of teams. We backpedal rather than change our tactics because we were scared. I think Arteta will. We're going into this in the best possible shape. We can't say we're not in form. Aubameyang's tuned up. Saka's scoring goals, for Christ's sake. Right, Tony? Goals for midfield. Reason to be optimistic.
Yeah, we tripled our goals in midfield in the last 2 weeks. From 1 goal to 3.
So
15 too few, but whatever.
Go ahead, Lonzo.
So I think we win. I think if we win, if Ceballos and Xhaka have a good partnership, and from the past 2 games, I think Ceballos is ready. I think he's up for it. So is Pepe. I think that they bring speed. I think they bring dribbling abilities. I think we'll be all right. I think Xhaka is going to be the most important player. And if he plays, Rob Holding is too. Those are 2 important players going down the team.
And Ryan can't wait to see Kieran Tierney versus Traore. That's going to be good.
Yeah.
Good matchup. Dan, what do you think about Wolves away from home?
You know what? You look for the Wolves team, and I can, there's quite a few players in there that I'd like to have in our team. That's how much I like Wolves. You know what I mean? I like Wolves. I like the way they play. They just work as a team, right? You know, this is a team.
They know what they're doing.
A little bit like Sheffield United in that way, you know. And there's a lot of players in that team that are going to go on to bigger things. I think that they're really making a good name for themselves, you know. Jimenez, Neves, Traore, and I agree with Ryan that, you know, this is going to be another nice test, so we can have a look at Kieran Tierney coming down from Scotland in the Premier League, because Adama Traore, I really rate him. I think he's a really good. Winger. So I think Kieran Tierney is going to have his work cut out for him. So it's going to be interesting. It's not going to be an easy game.
That's going to be a good test for Kieran Tierney. He's come to the Premiership to test himself against the best. Traore is going to be the best. And Norma, I love your comment here. Tottenham today, even we can beat Sheffield United. I had a note about this somewhere here. People who are complaining are saying, is that the level of our ambition to be above Tottenham? Well, in order to start a long journey, you have to start that first step with seemingly insignificant step. So Tottenham, getting above Tottenham is the insignificant first step in Project Rebuild here.
And if this is football, are we not allowed to have any bloody fun? I mean, you know, if our rivals lose, even if we're in shit street, are we not allowed to laugh and smile about it?
Yeah, you know what?
You know, this has been a very good week for Arsenal fans, right? We've won a good match. We've seen our team play very well. We've scored 4 goals. We've kept a clean sheet. We've managed to keep Saka and re-sign one of our best generational players that could come through our ranks. And we've watched our rivals get themselves humped by a team that we beat just recently. Yeah, and when we beat Sheffield, you know, the pundits and the media were like, well, you know, they didn't give us any credit for it. You know. It was like, well, you know, it was only Sheffield, do you know what I mean? But with Tottenham, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's a totally different story. So we are allowed to be happy. And if you want to go on Twitter and you want to have some jokes and post memes about Tottenham losing to Sheffield, go and enjoy yourselves. That's what I say. You know what I mean? Don't lose your sense of humour just because we've been, you know, things have been dull. Always, what did Monty Python said? Always look on the bright side of life.
On that Brighton, post Brighton, we did that podcast where we were depressed. Rowan will be there. Rowan was there, remembers. We had a Manchester United fans win.
With steam coming out of his ears.
The comment was GGMU, and I was like, "What's GGMU? Tell me, Mahir. Tell me what GGMU is." Glory Man United. And you know what? That's banter, and we'll take it. We can take the L's. We're going to take the dubs as well, right, Tanner?
Without a doubt, man. I did say, just in regards to Norma's comment, I had posted earlier that a draw would have been the best outcome today, but I actually responded to Michael Thomas's comment. I said, listen, it's not the draw would have been the best outcome, but it's never a bad day to see that lot lose.
Indeed. Listen, we're going to wind it up. We're going to go around the table here. This is Arsenal Fan Circle. We bring all fans together around the table, and we'll get final thoughts. Who wants? Usually, I just dictate who's going to get final thoughts. I want volunteers. Who wants to go first?
Can I just say I'm not going to have a final thought, because what I just said a few moments ago, I can't say any more than that. So leave me out.
That's awesome.
Stan, mic drop. Done.
That's awesome, dude.
Good stuff, Stan. Tony, thanks for pulling that stat real quick as well. Okay, I'm gonna Tanner, final thoughts.
A good win for
Project Rebuild. What do you see in Project Rebuild? Do you see some green shoots?
Yeah. There's reason to be optimistic here. We're not a bad side. We just need to learn to play as a team a little bit better, and I think that's what Mikel Arteta is instilling in us right now. It's there's a philosophy there. Excuse me. And Yeah, just we need to be a more cohesive. Look, you know who we need to be? Wolves. We're going to play Saturday. That right now we need to look at and be like, that's the standard right there.
You just stole my thunder right there, because I was going to say we need to be the team that Wolves are right now, from the coach right down to the kit man. You know what I mean? You know what they're doing.
Absolutely. Final thought. I'll go here with the final thought, and then that's it for me. But
I thought that was it.
What's that? Oh, that was it. Oh, okay.
No, go ahead. Just go.
Good for confidence. Again, I don't want to jump off a bridge with excitement over beating Norwich 4-0 at home. But it's going to take a much bigger effort, I think, on Saturday at the Molyneux to.
Norman's coming with some good ones, because I was thinking about this as well. Leicester are on the slide, and we played them on Tuesday. So let's see what happens there.
This is a big stretch, because at the very end of these next three fixtures is the scum and
Liverpool.
Yeah, so
Liverpool lost 4-0. Easy peasy.
I think they're going to be there for the tape. We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that. Wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be funny though if Leicester slid out of the top six?
That would suck.
Rowan, final thoughts.
Final thoughts are that today's game, which was the Guard of Honor, and then City's game, and City over the last few years have sort of been dominated by Liverpool, right? But they had the foot of the gas. Liverpool had the foot of the gas, and City capitalized, and how, right? That's the Premier League. You take your foot off the gas and you're going to get punished. That is what is going to happen on Saturday if we think that it's going to be a stroll in the park. It's not. Not just because you are in London, you're the biggest club in London, you've got everything that you want in terms of playing, but in a very lovey-dovey situation where you don't have to work hard. Don't let it slide. Arsenal players, you have to go in there with fight. You have to prove yourself, and who knows where this is going. There are teams that are dropping. Nobody thought that Chelsea was going to lose to West Ham. Nobody thought that Tottenham was going to lose 3-1 to Sheffield. Things like these happen, and we need to be there.
Nobody thought we'd get beaten by Brighton.
Who knew that Brighton will have a league double on us? Like, nobody knew that, right? But we have to be focused. It's not much, to motivate them. You just have to tell them there's just how many? There's just 7-8 games left now, and you have to keep the focus.
Tony,
last thought is that I'm sure that Mikel Arteta can do that, because I'm impressed by his man management skills. When it comes to Granit Xhaka, he's turned it around. That we're talking about Granit Xhaka in a positive light. We at least accept him on the field, and that itself is a big turnaround, because he was gone, right? So all of this put together, we need to build Project Rebuild.
Rohan, while I have you, throw in a few players from those relegated teams you'd like Arsenal to target. We talked about Decore.
Decore great. I think even we had talked about Max Aarons. Max Aarons didn't have a great day against us. Aubameyang and Tierney were sort of, tearing him apart. But, our left side is quite strong. Let's not forget that we've got world-class players there. So I wouldn't take that as a complete example. I would probably take Max Aarons as well. Cantwell is an exciting player. Jack Grealish, could look at him. He's been a captain. He's played that number 10 role. There's plenty of players. Ake, maybe. Who knows?
And Adiz has said, listen, let's play to the end of this season. Let's play every minute of this season, because United play Leicester and Chelsea play Wolves on the last day. Last day of the season is going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Alonso, final thoughts, Alonso?
So like Roland said, this is not your like late 2000 Wolves. This is Wolves team is for real, and they should be treated as such because last year they beat us pretty bad at the second last game of the season. I think they were in the season, and they were pretty hard on us, and until we came back and made a game out of it, but it was still a different Wolves team that we've been known to seeing throughout the years. So I think that if we beat Wolves, it's like a confidence builder. I think that this is our game of the year right here against Wolves because they're better than us, obviously. And so I think that we saw that Tottenham sucks, of course, and Leicester have their struggles. So why not go after it? I think that it's important for us to show off our skill. I think Tierney's really important, and so is Saka if they start on Saturday, and I hope they do.
I missed all that. I'm going to have to watch it on playback. But great points, Alonso. And you know what? If I'm an Arsenal player playing under Emery last season that I went to Molineux and got absolutely embarrassed, and I'm going to play on Saturday, you better have a point to prove against the team because you got absolutely embarrassed against Wolves last season and Leicester. These are two teams we're facing again. Tony, I'm giving you the props for you held your tongue there a lot. You got your last word to say all the things. Get the final word in, Tony.
Saka's still the same bang average player.
Oh
Yeah.
He was only my the last 3 games. Laka was back there protecting him. Who cares if he got a goal? It's 3 from a midfield. We should have at least 15, 20 goals from a midfield. But what I go with until you poke the bear, the Pillsbury Doughboy again.
Ray, can I ask Tony one question real quick?
Yeah.
Tony, what will it take for you to change your mind about Granit Xhaka? And let me ask you this. If we don't lose another game, knock on wood, if we don't lose another game for the rest of the season and Granit Xhaka scored a goal in every game, would you come around?
Nope.
Would you rather Granit Xhaka leave, but Arsenal get relegated, or we qualify for Champions League with Granit Xhaka as our team captain?
Come on, you know the answer.
I don't know the answer because I think Tony might hate Granit Xhaka so much that he hates Granit Xhaka more than he likes Arsenal. He can't answer me.
I'm about to toss a coin there.
You see what Tony sounds like talking about Xhaka? Is that what I sound like when I talk about Ozil? Oh no!
I don't think you're that bad.
But anyway, what I was going to say, I hope we see intestinal fortitude from the players with other teams dropping points. It's time for the team to show balls, go out there and show guts. Still possible we can get a Champions League spot and see out there if they can just go out there and play and do what they need to be doing.
Let's put some respect on his name. Tony Turner, the one, the only, the order of the Don Juan man of the match. We love you, Tony. We do. We love you, Tony. We do. We love you, Tony.
We do.
Oh, Tony, we love you.
And Tony did have the last say. Listen, want to thank you, Tony, Stan, Tanner, and Rowan for joining. And Alonso, special thanks. First time on the channel. Hope you can come on again at some point in the future.
It was fun.
Hope you enjoyed it. And Tony's flipping people off.
Xhaka.
And on that note,
Red card, Tony. Red card, 3-game suspension, just like that. All right, listen. The whole Gooner Nation knows the Wolves game is going to be tough, but let's go into it with some optimism or pessimism, however you're feeling. I think we're going to see what Arteta thinks is his best 11 in that game, so we'll get some really good points about what Arteta thinks about his squad and who the best players are. And let's hope we have that moment. We have that turning point in Arteta's coaching career of Arsenal, and we start going on the upward trajectory because we've been bouncing around from 12 to 7 to 8, and we want to push up a little bit. And the only way we can do that is by beating Wolves and beating Leicester. Tough games ahead, but let's see what happens. This season was always the restart was always about um, Arteta experimenting. Let's give him free reign to do that. And yeah, once again, thanks everyone for joining me. Enjoyed the podcast, and come on, you Gunners, up the Arsenal. Let's get out of here.